We're now going to sew the whole bag together. Now this is the trickiest part, whether you choose the binding or the non-binding method. But this method, without the binding, I would recommend only to those who are experienced bag makers. And you will be muscling things a lot, so if you have arthritis issues, I'm not sure this was the best method for you. You might prefer the binding method. Okay, very first thing you're going to need to do is mark the centers of all your pieces. That includes the zipper. So I used chalk like this to mark my pieces, or washable marker. Did that for the gusset, the lining in the centers, and the exterior. And now we're going to start with the exterior and the gusset. You're going to want to unzip your zipper. It's going to stay unzipped for this. And for this method, we are turning through an outside pocket, so we definitely want to keep this pocket unzipped. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a mess at the end when you're trying to turn it. Okay, so we're going to be doing everything, fastening everything right sides together. So I'm going to take the center of this rounded gusset and match it up with the center of the base. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's hard to see my mark here. I think that's it.
Trina, where are you?
Okay, now that I have fastened those 4 parts, I'm going to fill it in the rest of the way, and then we will do our first sewing. You'll also want to make sure you do not get this pocket caught in your pinning and sewing. Oops. I usually pin out from each edge. I'll do a few, then I'll work back, and that way if I need to, I can adjust clips as I go. Be particularly careful with these top corners. Do lots of clips here. Looks like I've got a little extra here, so I've got to work my way back down and just readjust these a little, and it looks like this will fit with a little adjustment. Okay, I've got 1/4 finished, so now I'll work on the next quarter. I generally work this purse in quarters. Okay. Everything is clipped. Okay, we are going to go around sewing with a scant 3/4 inch seam allowance. What that means is it's just barely under 3/8 inch. Later on, when we sew on the lining, we'll sew it at 3/8 inch, and that'll be the seam allowance. But for now, we're doing it slightly under that. I'm using my zipper foot to make it a little easier. Sorry, if I lean forward, you get my hair in the picture. And my best advice for this part of the pattern is slow and steady. This one isn't too bad because we're just basting one layer. Oh, that's right. I'm going to lengthen my stitch. And make sure you are flattening the zipper as much as possible as you go around. And you do not want to catch your zipper in your seam, because then you cannot unzip it. My zipper is particularly stiff because of the metal, so I'm taking it very slow. Right now I'm doing a little bit of a back stitch and then forward stitch again, because I can feel that I'm sewing over this triangle piece, and I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. And slow over the thick layers. And then here's the bottom of the triangle piece, so I'm going to sew down here a bit, back stitch, and go again. You're sewing something curved to something straight, so just keep trying to push the underneath and the top as straight as possible to avoid wrinkles. Adjust the bag when you need to. As tricky as this part is, the next part is the real tricky one. But this lays the foundation for the next step. So, and it's a really nice finish at the end when you can't see any binding. Okay, phew. We're on to the very last step to sew all these pieces together.